So right here we have a 2006 Cadillac CTS 2.8. Same thing as the 3.6. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the spark plugs. I got to do a little tune up on this. It had a misfire. So what I did was to determine out the misfire was I had cylinder number 6, so misfire. So what I did was I switched over the spark plug, and then the misfire followed that cylinder, and it moved over to cylinder 5. So that's, or cylinder number 3. Oh, I'm sorry, cylinder number 5. So that's where my misfire moved to. But you gotta move this engine cover in order to get to the intake manifold. So here's the intake manifold. So basically how we're going to take this guy off, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 bolts. And then we got a little PCV hose right back here on top of the valve cover. You gotta lift it up, pull it back. Wiggle that. Okay. So that guy's off. Then we have this guy, same thing. This little clip right here, you just push down, move it to the right, and then pull it right back. And then you just wiggle this guy out, set it down to the side so it's not in your way. I did kind of play around with this. So this guy is going to be right here, and then this is going to be bolted down with a 10mm. You are going to have to unbolt this guy, and this is going to be connected with this fuel injector harness. So you just pop this clip off, have a little pick if it's being a little bit stubborn. And then you're gonna have to take off the intake housing boot. Just unbolt these 2 bolts. It's going to be an 8mm. Then you got your PCV. Make sure you don't break that. That one's right here. That right down. So it's right here. This guy, you can just wiggle this guy right out. Move it over to the side. Then this guy tends to have oil. So if you ever have the time, let's see. Look right in there, you can see oil. Sometimes it'll be big, sometimes it'll be small. This one's already been cleaned before, but just lay it on its back so where it doesn't leak. Then another bolt you're going to have to access. You don't have to take it off, you just loosen it. Right here it's an 18mm or 11/16. So you just unbolt that, not all the way, just so where you can move this bracket out the way. So you would unloosen this. It's going to be a 10mm. Use a closed end wrench or open end, and then it'll move out like that on the side. So when you pull off the intake manifold, it's not in your way. Then you have your throttle body. This clip would be pushed in. You would pull it right out. Okay, now as for here, you have your brake booster hose. So pull that guy out, wiggle it right out, move it down under so it's not in your way. You got this sensor that you need to unplug, and then you have one in the rear. So that one's being a little bit stubborn. Sometimes they're a little bit pain in the butt to get out, but you can use a little pick. Basically what I'm doing is, as I'm pushing down on this tab, I'm lifting it right up at the same time, so kind of helping out. Sometimes these guys get stuck, so push down right here and get a little pick. You can get these at your local auto parts store for a couple bucks. I got this at Harbor Freight for about $4, so can't beat it. Then you're gonna have this wire right here. It's gonna be connected to this little bracket. You can just pull out this clip, push it to the side, and then that's pretty much it for those. Then these are all 13mm bolts. So the one in the back is a little bit tricky to get to. So you're gonna use I use a 1/4" ratchet with a 1/4" socket. That's a little bit short, so I can sneak it in. Now you're just gonna do this to loosen it, to take it off. And then sometimes if it gets stuck, you just put your hand on this plastic and then you lift it up as you're wiggling this guy out. If you have a flex head 13, which will be convenient, or if I can find it. So you can use a little 13 flex head if you have one of these to do the rest. Loosen it. When you take this guy out, it's not going to come up all the way straight, so you're going to have to tilt it this way and then pull it right back in to not drop this bolt. So as you're taking out these bolts, they're going to have a little washer. So this guy is the only washer that came out with it. The rest of the 3 didn't come out. So make sure you note which one came out and which ones didn't, so you don't overlap them, you don't hit anything, so they seat right. So this is the little washer. This one came out, so this would be for this guy, which it came out only. And then the other 3, fine. And as you pull off this throttle body plastic that connects, go ahead and lift the throttle body. Just lift it up and you'll pull back. And then don't forget that you have this PCV that you ungrips. Grab this guy as you're pulling it out so you don't catch it on anything. Set that to the side. This one's already been worked on. So the gasket, I'll inspect it. Looks fine. Looks good. I can reuse it. The gasket was a little bit old, the original. I would recommend to replace it, but this gasket's not that old. And the seal is still good. Everything's intact, so I'll go ahead and reuse that. Okay, so now I have access to all my spark plug, ignition coils. So basically I need a 10mm. Unbolt all these. Now, for most of you, if I was you, if you have a rag, I would lay it across right here. It's a good habit to have. So just in case you don't drop anything, or if you're gonna leave it for a day or 2 or something, so nothing goes inside the intake. If you don't, just double check, make sure nothing went in, so nothing falls in and you bend a valve or damage something, make the expense more than what it should. So basically when you want to take off these connector harness, you'll pull on the back side, push it, and then usually these guys will wiggle out, but I have a pick for that. So, and as you pull out, wiggle right out, it'll shoot down. So then you can pull it out. This does not need to come out all the way. Same thing for this. Push down, wiggle it, go up, bottom. Okay. Vice versa for everything. Now these don't need to be in order. You don't need to worry about anything, so you can mix and match them. But if you are having a misfire issue, I would recommend to label that specific one just in case and move it over to a different cylinder. Now, what's very common for these guys is these guys like to leak a lot of oil in the tube seals. So before taking off the spark plug, inspect each one and make sure there's no oil in it. If you do see oil, try to get some syringe, turkey base or whatever, a little rag that you can dip in there so you get most of the oil out and it doesn't pour into your cylinder. You don't want to damage your cat, make something more problematic down the road. You don't want it to hydrolock if there's a lot of oil, if that was causing your misfire or something. So I'm just going to loosen all these. Now what you can't do is when you take each spark plug out for each cylinder, you can see how the cylinder is. You can check them. This seems to be running fine. It's not too dark, it's not too lean. So those are okay. Same thing for those guys. They look fine, not too foul, not running rich. So okay, so these are the old ones. And part number for the 2.8 is 41990 for this year. Gonna use it with the original equipment. 41990. Gonna keep it as original. AC Delco. Keep it for GMs. Shouldn't have to worry about gapping these. They have the cardboard, so they're already pre-gapped. Okay, everybody has mixed feelings about these, putting anti-seize. I'm not going to put anti-seize. I feel like it's still fine. Plus, the old spark plugs had a bunch of anti-seize on it. More than what it should, but pretty sure there's still a lot more in the thread. You can just drop these down. Thread them in by hand first. Don't try to force anything. You don't want it to cross thread. Okay, now that I got those in, I'll go ahead and use my camera. Now when you torque these down or bolt them down, I think around 35 is the foot-pounds what I normally use, so however you want to use it, but I play it by ear. So what I'll do is I'll get these guys snugged in. Okay, now as I stop, so I'll go like a little bit of a 1/4 inch turn. Okay, now that I got my spark plugs in, I'm gonna go ahead and put back the ignition coils. Just drop those in for right now. Okay. Now I'm gonna be connecting these. Okay, so as you guys connect these to the ignition coil, you push this in. As you're pushing against it, as the connector against the ignition coil, you'll close this, and then that should be it. It should not come off. It should go along. Should have no resistance. So as you push up, it'll go closer when you close the connector. Thread in my hand first. remove the rag. Then obviously you would purchase new intake manifold gaskets, but these are still good. These will be aligned with this. They have a guidance right there, and then there's a little plastic for the intake right there. And then same thing as versus right here. That little plastic clip. One will go right there. It'll go into this intake plenum. And then the other one will be guided right there. Okay, so now it's time to put back on the intake. Now, this is very crucial that you don't lift up the intake gasket while you're putting this back in. And then obviously this PCV, make sure it's not catching on anything when you're putting it back. So, again, don't forget the plastic. Don't forget the plastic piece. And then you want to thread these in by hand. So as you put this guy back in, you put it in like that. What I do, I do like an X pattern. So now you're going to reverse order. Put this connector. And the brake booster hose. And you put the throttle body plastic connector for it. Now we got the fuel injector harness. This will be already on there, so there was no need to take this guy off, but I'll be connected like that. Don't forget about this PCB when you're putting it back. This one's to the throttle body. Don't forget, you gotta put it back. Same thing. Okay. Then your intake. First you'll put on the intake filter housing first. Then you'll put it on the throttle body. Wiggle it right in. Then you'll go ahead and connect your PCV hose. Make sure this guy doesn't come off. That's the spark plugs. Pretty easy, simple, straightforward. Can't be any complex. As long as you got the right tools, it'll make the job easy. If you like my video, please subscribe. And if you have any questions or anything, just go ahead and comment in the videos below. Thank you.